99% of you are not subscribed to the channel. At 1,000 subscribers, I will post a series of special stories. Subscribe now.
The planet Zorath, nestled within the Omanara galaxy, was a world defined by precision, order, and hierarchy. The Zorathians, a species of highly intelligent beings with smooth silver-hued exoskeletons and a network of luminescent veins pulsing beneath their translucent skin, were the undisputed rulers of this structured world. They valued logic above all, their society functioning like a perfectly engineered machine where each component had a specific role, and deviation from the norm was unheard of. The Zorathians' world was a marvel of technological advancement, where every creature had been classified and categorized according to its utility and threat level. Zorath's vast landscapes, from the towering crystalline spires of the cities to the dense bioluminescent forests, were home to countless species, all of which had been subjugated by the Zorathians' superior intellect. In their society, the notion of befriending a creature considered lesser in the hierarchical order was anathema. Dominance was maintained through control, and relationships were built on fear and respect. Vorkal, a seasoned commander in the Zorathian fleet, embodied these values. His reputation was one of ruthless efficiency, a master of strategy, and a firm believer in the Zorathian way of life. Vorkal's mission was to explore the far reaches of the galaxy, searching for new worlds to expand the Zorathian influence. His latest assignment brought him to a relatively obscure corner of the galaxy, where his ship, the Zexar, picked up unusual signals emanating from a small blue planet, Earth. The signals were primitive by Zorathian standards, radio waves, television broadcasts, and digital noise that cluttered the planet's atmosphere. Yet there was something about the chaotic nature of these signals that intrigued Vorkal. The humans, as his ship's database identified them, were an enigma. They were technologically inferior, yet their planet was teeming with life and activity, far more than any other planet he had encountered. Curiosity piqued, Vorkal ordered the Zexar into a closer orbit around Earth. From the safety of their cloaked vessel, Vorkal and his crew began their observations. Earth was a vibrant world full of diverse ecosystems, but it was the humans that held their attention. These creatures seemed to dominate the planet, yet they lived in a strange, symbiotic relationship with other life forms. Vorkal's first true encounter with Earth's inhabitants occurred when he directed his ship to hover above a sprawling green landscape filled with tall grasses and scattered clusters of trees. A park, though he didn't yet know the term. He focused his sensors on a group of humans gathered in this space. They were engaged in a curious activity. They were playing with creatures that by Zorathian standards should have been seen as potential threats, or at the very least nuisances. Through the ship's high-definition viewing screens, Vorkal watched as a human male tossed a spherical object across the grass. To his amazement, a smaller four-legged creature, later identified as a dog, dashed after it, retrieved the object with its mouth and brought it back to the human, tail wagging in what seemed to be an expression of joy. The human in turn rewarded the dog with a pat on the head and words of praise. "What is this?" Vorkal muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. "This creature should be terrified of the human. It is clearly subordinate, yet it appears happy." As he continued to observe, Vorkal noticed more of these interactions. A child fed a large feathered bird from his hand, the bird perching comfortably on the human's arm without any signs of fear. A group of humans sat in a circle on the grass, surrounded by an array of different animals, cats, dogs, and even a small rodent, all of which seemed perfectly at ease. There was no sign of aggression, no indication of force. Instead, the creatures seemed to willingly seek out the company of the humans. The scene before him was baffling. On Zorath, any creature that was not Zorathian was either controlled or eliminated. The idea that an intelligent species could coexist with other creatures in such harmony, without the use of force, was entirely foreign to him. What drives these creatures to behave in such a way? Vorkal pondered aloud. His second-in-command, Zikran, a sharp-minded Zorathian with an affinity for biological studies, suggested they investigate further. "These humans might possess an understanding of animal behavior that we have not yet considered," Zikran proposed. "Perhaps they use a form of subtle control we cannot yet perceive, or maybe their methods rely on psychological manipulation." Vorkal nodded, though his skepticism remained. The Zorathians were masters of psychological warfare and manipulation, yet what he observed seemed different, almost illogical. There was no clear hierarchy, no visible force exerted upon these creatures. Instead, it seemed as though the humans and animals shared a bond, one that defied the rigid structures Vorkal had known all his life. Determined to uncover the truth, Vorkal ordered his crew to gather more data. The Zexar descended to various locations around Earth, capturing images and recordings of humans interacting with their so-called pets. Vorkal watched in silence as the evidence piled up. Humans riding on the backs of massive animals known as horses, sharing their homes with creatures like cats and dogs, and even keeping small, delicate creatures such as birds and rodents in close proximity, all without fear or coercion. Vorkal's confusion deepened. If these humans could tame such creatures without the use of force, what else were they capable of? Could there be a hidden strength within these seemingly fragile beings that the Zorathians had underestimated? The answer, Vorkal realized, could reshape his entire understanding of control, power, and dominance. He decided that this discovery was too important to remain on the fringes of Zorathian knowledge. The Supreme Council needed to see this phenomenon for themselves. Perhaps, Vorkal thought, there was more to these humans than met the eye. With a sense of purpose, Vorkal ordered the Zexar to prepare for the journey back to Zorath. As the ship ascended into the stars, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind, Vorkal couldn't help but feel a strange, unsettling anticipation. The more he learned about humans, the more he questioned the very foundations of Zorathian society. What if, he wondered, the Zorathians had been wrong all along? Little did Vorkal know this mission would be the catalyst for a change far greater than he could have ever imagined. A change that would challenge the very essence of what it meant to be Zorathian. Vorkal and his crew returned to Earth with renewed focus, their mission clear: to uncover the secrets behind the strange bond between humans and their domesticated creatures. The Zexar hovered high above the planet, cloaked from human detection as it silently monitored various regions of Earth, capturing data and relaying it back to the ship's central intelligence system. Vorkal began by focusing on specific types of human-animal relationships, instructing his team to observe interactions in both rural and urban settings. The diversity of life on Earth fascinated the Zorathians, and as they delved deeper into their study, they realized that the bond between humans and their pets varied in complexity and depth depending on the species involved. One of the first places Vorkal targeted was a small rural farm in a place called the American Midwest. The farm, surrounded by endless fields of crops and pastures, was home to a variety of animals, each with its own role. Vorkal watched as a farmer, a middle-aged human with rough hands and a weathered face, interacted with his livestock. The cows, large and powerful beasts by Zorathian standards, followed the farmer as he moved through the fields, responding to his commands with surprising obedience. But it was not the mere obedience of the animals that intrigued Vorkal. It was the manner in which the farmer treated them. As he milked the cows and fed the chickens, the farmer spoke to them in soft, soothing tones. He even patted a cow on its side, eliciting a low, contented moo from the creature. The farmer's actions suggested a relationship based not just on control, but on care and respect. How is it possible that such large, potentially dangerous creatures submit to this human's will without resistance? Vorkal mused. There is no sign of force, no weapons or restraints. Zikran, who had been monitoring the scene with equal interest, offered an explanation. It seems that these humans have established a form of trust with these creatures. The animals appear to recognize the humans as providers, and in return they cooperate. It's a form of mutual benefit. Vorkal remained skeptical. But what prevents the animals from turning on the humans? What stops them from using their strength to overpower their supposed masters? Zikran paused, considering the question. Perhaps it's more than just trust. There may be a deeper connection, one that we have yet to fully understand. As they continued their observations, Vorkal's attention was drawn to a different kind of relationship, one that played out in the bustling streets of a city. Here, the crew focused on the interactions between humans and their pets in an urban environment, where space was limited and the pace of life was fast. In one instance, they observed a young woman walking through a crowded park with a dog on a leash. The dog, a sleek, muscular creature with a keen sense of alertness, moved in perfect sync with the woman, matching her pace and responding to her commands with precise obedience. Vorkal noted how the dog's eyes never left the woman, as if it was constantly seeking her approval. The Zorathians watched as the woman stopped to speak with another human, her hand idly stroking the dog's head. The dog leaned into her touch, its tail wagging rhythmically. There was no fear, no sign of anxiety, only a bond of affection that seemed to transcend the simple master-servant dynamic. What drives this creature to behave in such a manner? Vorkal wondered aloud. Why does it seek the human's touch and approval? Zikrin analyzed the footage, highlighting the subtle cues exchanged between the human and the dog. It appears that these creatures have evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. Their behaviors are deeply ingrained, not just as a result of training but as part of a long-standing relationship. The dog's actions suggest it derives comfort and security from the human's presence. Vorkal nodded, though his mind continued to wrestle with the implications. If what Zikrin said was true, then the relationship between humans and their pets was not one of mere convenience or utility. It was something far more complex, rooted in history and shaped by millennia of coexistence. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source, a small household in a suburban neighborhood. The crew focused on a family consisting of 2 parents, 2 children, and a variety of pets, including a dog, a cat, and a bird. The family lived in a modest home with a fenced backyard where the children played freely with the animals. Vorkal observed the family during their evening routine. The parents prepared dinner while the children, a boy and a girl, engaged in a game of fetch with the dog. The cat, aloof yet attentive, watched from the windowsill, occasionally flicking its tail in what appeared to be mild amusement. The bird, a colorful parrot, chirped from its cage in the corner, occasionally mimicking the children's laughter. What struck Vorkal most was the seamless integration of the animals into the family dynamic. The pets were not merely present, they were participants in the family's daily life. The children spoke to the animals as if they were fellow family members, sharing their thoughts and feelings with them. The parents, too, treated the pets with a level of care and affection that Vorkal had never seen before. At one point, the young boy, tired from playing, curled up on the couch with the dog beside him. The dog rested its head on the boy's lap, and the boy absent-mindedly stroked the dog's fur as they both drifted into a peaceful sleep. The scene was so serene, so natural, that it left Vorkal at a loss for words. "This is more than just a bond," Zikrin remarked, his voice tinged with awe. "These humans see these creatures as part of their family. They care for them, protect them, and in return the animals offer companionship and loyalty. It's a relationship built on something that transcends our understanding of dominance and control." Vorkal remained silent, processing everything he had witnessed. The Zorathians had always viewed other species as tools or threats, something to be controlled or eradicated. But the humans had forged a different path, one that seemed to defy the very nature of hierarchy. Their relationships with these creatures were not based on fear or subjugation, but on something far more profound. Could it be that the humans had discovered a form of power that the Zorathians had overlooked? A power not rooted in strength or technology, but in empathy, trust, and mutual respect. Vorkal knew that the implications of this discovery were immense. If the Zorathians could learn from the humans, if they could harness this new form of power, it could change the very fabric of their society. But to do so would require a complete rethinking of their values, a challenge to the core beliefs that had guided Zorathian civilization for millennia. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Vorkal made a decision. The humans and their pets were not just subjects of curiosity, they were the key to something greater. He ordered his crew to capture and document as much data as possible, including live specimens for further study. As the Zexar prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Vorkal couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was only the beginning. The more he learned about humans, the more he realized how little he understood. And in that realization, Vorkal saw the potential for growth, not just for himself but for all of Zorath. Little did he know that the lessons he was about to learn would challenge everything he had ever known and set the stage for a transformation that would echo across the galaxy. The Zexar sliced through the inky blackness of space, heading back to Zorath with its invaluable cargo, footage, data, and most importantly, live specimens. Vorkal was tense as the ship neared the planet, his mind preoccupied with the implications of the discoveries he had made on Earth. He knew that what he was bringing back to Zorath would not be easily accepted. The Council, known for its rigid adherence to tradition and the Zorathian way, would be hard-pressed to comprehend the significance of what Vorkal had witnessed. The capital city of Zorath was a sprawling geometric marvel, with towering structures that gleamed under the pale light of the system's twin suns. The Supreme Council convened in the Grand Chamber, a colossal hall where decisions that shaped the entire planet were made. The chamber was dominated by a circular table, around which the most powerful and influential Zorathians gathered. Above them, a vast dome of transparent crystal provided a view of the swirling nebulae that surrounded their world, a constant reminder of the vastness of the universe and Zorath's place within it. As Vorkal entered the grand chamber, the council members turned their many eyes toward him. The Supreme Council consisted of Zorath's most esteemed leaders, beings of immense knowledge and power, whose wisdom had guided the planet for centuries. They were known for their stoicism, their decisions governed by logic and reason. Emotions were considered a weakness, an obstacle to the efficiency and order that defined Zorathian society. Vorkal approached the center of the chamber where a holographic projector stood ready to display the data he had gathered. He felt the weight of the council's gaze as he began his report. "Honored council members," Vorkal began, his voice steady despite the uncertainty he felt. "During our mission to the planet designated as Earth, we encountered a phenomenon that defies our understanding of dominance and control. The human species, despite their technological inferiority, has established a relationship with various other species on their planet, creatures that, by our standards, should be considered threats or subordinates." The council members exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Vorkal activated the projector, and the chamber was filled with the images and recordings he had collected. The scenes played out in silence, humans playing with their pets, tending to their livestock, and living in harmony with creatures that should have posed a threat to them. The council members watched intently as the footage rolled on. Vorkal explained the significance of each scene, emphasizing the absence of force or coercion in these interactions. He described how humans had tamed and domesticated these creatures, not through fear, but through trust, care, and mutual respect. As the presentation concluded, the chamber was silent. The council members remained motionless, their minds processing what they had just witnessed. Vorkal could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken questions hanging between them. Finally, it was Xantor, the eldest and most revered member of the council, who broke the silence. His voice, deep and resonant, echoed through the chamber. "Commander Vorkal," Xantor began, "what you have shown us is extraordinary. These humans, primitive as they are, have managed to achieve something that defies our understanding of power dynamics. They have formed bonds with these creatures that seem to transcend the traditional roles of master and servant." Another council member, a stern figure named Loriax, spoke next. "But what does this mean for us, Vorkal? Are you suggesting that we, the most advanced species in this galaxy, should adopt the methods of these humans? Are we to abandon our principles of control and dominance?" Vorkal chose his words carefully. "I am not suggesting that we abandon our ways, Loriax, but I believe there is something to be learned from these humans. Their ability to form bonds based on trust and empathy, rather than fear, could offer us new ways of interacting with other species, ways that could enhance our own society and perhaps even strengthen our control over the galaxy." Xantor nodded slowly, his expression contemplative. "You propose that we study these humans further, to understand the full extent of their methods. But to what end, Vorkal? What is it that you hope to achieve?" Vorkal hesitated for a moment, then spoke with conviction. "What I hope to achieve, Honored Council, is a deeper understanding of power itself. The humans have shown us that there are other forms of control, subtle, but potentially more effective than the ones we have relied upon for millennia. If we can integrate these methods into our own practices, we may unlock new potentials for our society." The chamber was filled with a low hum as the council members conferred telepathically, their thoughts exchanged in a flurry of silent communication. Vorkal stood in the center, awaiting their decision with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. After what seemed like an eternity, Xantor raised a hand, signaling the end of the deliberation. The chamber fell silent once more as he addressed Vorkal. "Commander Vorkal," Xantor began, "the Council agrees that what you have discovered on Earth warrants further investigation. However, this is not a decision we take lightly. The principles of Zorathian society have guided us for generations, and any change to those principles must be approached with caution." He paused, his eyes narrowing as he considered the weight of his next words. "We will authorize the study of these human methods, but it must be conducted with the utmost care. We cannot afford to let this knowledge disrupt the order that we have built. You will lead this research, Vorkal, and you will report directly to the Council on your findings. If, and only if, we determine that these methods can be integrated into our society without compromising our values, we will consider implementing them." Vorkal bowed deeply, his chest swelling with a mix of pride and responsibility. "I will not fail you, Honored Council. I will ensure that this research is conducted with the precision and respect that our society demands. With that, the council dismissed Vorkal, the weight of their decision lingering in the air. As he left the grand chamber, Vorkal felt a profound sense of purpose. He had been given the task of exploring a new frontier, not of space, but of understanding, a challenge that could reshape the future of Zorath. But as he made his way back to the Zexar, ready to embark on this new mission, a sliver of doubt crept into his mind. The humans had shown him a different way of wielding power, one that was softer, more elusive, but potentially more enduring. He couldn't shake the feeling that this new path might lead to more than just a change in tactics. It could challenge the very foundation of what it meant to be Zorathian, and that, Vorkal knew, was a journey that could have consequences far beyond his control. Vorkal stood in the observation chamber aboard the Zexar, watching the human family and their pets through a transparent barrier. The chamber, designed for scientific study, was sterile and clinical, its white walls and harsh lighting a stark contrast to the warmth and comfort of the family's home on Earth. The humans had been brought here with the utmost care, their environment replicated as closely as possible to minimize stress. Yet despite the familiarity of their surroundings, there was an undeniable tension in the air, a sense of unease that the Zorathians could not fully understand. The family consisted of a father, a mother, and 2 children, a boy and a girl. With them were their pets, a loyal dog, a sleek cat, and a colorful parrot. The humans had been kept under close observation for days, with the Zorathians meticulously recording every interaction, every behavior, every emotional response. The goal was simple: to decode the mystery of the bond between humans and their pets, to understand how such a primitive species had managed to forge relationships based on trust and affection rather than fear and dominance. But as the days passed, Vorkal found himself grappling with more questions than answers. At first, the Zorathians attempted to engage the humans directly, asking them questions through a translation device. The family responded with confusion and fear, their unfamiliar surroundings and the presence of the strange, silver-skinned aliens putting them on edge. The Zorathians, despite their advanced intelligence, struggled to communicate effectively with the humans. Their questions, focused on the mechanics of control and dominance, were met with bewilderment. The humans didn't understand the Zorathians' obsession with control. To them, the relationships they had with their pets were natural, an intrinsic part of their lives that required no explanation. They spoke of love, companionship, and responsibility, concepts that the Zorathians found difficult to quantify. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Vorkal decided to take a different approach. Instead of interrogating the humans, he ordered his crew to observe them in their simulated environment, hoping that by watching them interact naturally, they might gain the insights they sought. And so the Zorathians watched. They watched as the father, despite the stress of his situation, maintained a calm and reassuring presence for his family. He played with the children, tossing a ball for the dog to fetch, laughing as the animal eagerly chased after it. The dog, a large muscular breed, should have been a creature to be feared, yet it was gentle and obedient, its eyes shining with affection for its human companions. The mother, despite her fear, took care of the cat, stroking its fur as it purred contentedly in her lap. The cat, with its sharp claws and predatory instincts, could have been a danger, but it was relaxed and at ease, a testament to the trust it placed in its human family. The children, though anxious, found comfort in their pets. The boy talked to the parrot, teaching it new words and laughing as it mimicked his voice. The girl, who had been crying, was consoled by the dog, its presence soothing her in a way that no words could. As Vorkal watched these scenes unfold, something began to change within him. The data he had collected, the observations he had made, all of it pointed to a truth that he had been reluctant to acknowledge. The bond between humans and their pets was not something that could be easily explained or replicated. It was a bond born of centuries of coexistence, shaped by emotions that the Zorathians had long dismissed as irrelevant. The Zorathians had always believed that power was rooted in control, in the ability to dominate and subdue. But the humans had shown him a different kind of power, a power that came from connection, from empathy, from the willingness to care for another being without expecting anything in return. Vorkal thought back to the teachings of Zorathian society, to the rigid hierarchies that governed every aspect of their lives. Control had always been paramount, the foundation upon which their civilization was built. But now, watching the human family, Vorkal began to question whether control alone was enough. What if, he wondered, there was strength in vulnerability? What if true power lay not in domination, but in the ability to form bonds that transcended fear? These were dangerous thoughts, thoughts that challenged the very core of Zorathian identity. But Vorkal could not ignore the evidence before him. The humans, in their simplicity, had uncovered a truth that the Zorathians had overlooked. They had discovered that love, trust, and compassion were not weaknesses, but sources of strength. Vorkal decided to conduct an experiment. He ordered his crew to create a scenario that would test the limits of the human-animal bond. The plan was to introduce a controlled element of danger, something that would elicit a response from both the humans and their pets. It was a risky move, but Vorkal needed to see how far this bond could be stretched. The experiment was simple: a simulated threat in the form of a holographic predator, a creature that appeared real but posed no actual harm. The Zorathians wanted to see how the humans and their pets would react when faced with danger. When the holographic predator appeared in the chamber, the reaction was immediate. The dog, sensing the threat, placed itself between the family and the predator, its hackles raised, teeth bared. The cat hissed and arched its back, while the parrot squawked loudly, flapping its wings in agitation. But it was the human's reaction that surprised Vorkal the most. The father quickly moved to shield his children, positioning them behind him while the mother gathered the pets close. There was no hesitation, no thought of self-preservation. The humans acted instinctively, driven by a need to protect their loved ones, human and animal alike. As the holographic predator advanced, the dog lunged forward, barking furiously, ready to defend its family at all costs. The humans shouted in fear and defiance, their voices filled with a mixture of terror and resolve. The cat, normally aloof, swiped at the predator with its claws, while the parrot flapped its wings wildly, trying to distract the threat. Vorkal watched in awe as the scene unfolded. The bond between the humans and their pets was more than just a social construct. It was a force of nature, powerful and unbreakable. Even in the face of danger, the humans and their pets stood together, united by a bond that transcended species, instincts, and fear. When the simulation ended and the holographic predator vanished, the humans and their pets collapsed in a heap, trembling but unharmed. The dog licked the children's faces, the cat purred as the mother held it close, and the parrot settled on the father's shoulder, nuzzling his neck. The family had survived the test, and their bond was stronger than ever. Vorkal was left speechless. The experiment had confirmed what he had begun to suspect. The humans had tapped into a form of power that the Zorathians had never considered. It was a power rooted in love, in the willingness to sacrifice for those they cared about. It was a power that could not be measured by conventional means, but its impact was undeniable. As he watched the family recover from the ordeal, Vorkal felt a shift within himself. The Zorathian way, the obsession with control and dominance, suddenly seemed narrow and limiting. The humans had shown him that there was another way, a way that embraced the complexities of emotion and connection. Vorkal knew that the findings of this experiment would be controversial. The council, with its rigid adherence to tradition, might not be willing to accept the implications. But Vorkal also knew that he could not ignore what he had learned. The Zorathians had the potential to evolve, to expand their understanding of power and control in ways that could enrich their society. Returning to the Grand Chamber, Vorkal presented his findings to the council. He spoke not just of the humans' ability to tame and domesticate animals, but of the deeper, more profound bond that underpinned their relationships. He described how the humans and their pets had faced danger together, how they had protected one another not out of fear, but out of love and loyalty. The council listened in silence, their expressions unreadable. When Vorkal finished, Xantor, the elder statesman, spoke. "Commander Vorkal," Xantor said slowly, "you have shown us a new way of understanding power. The humans' bond with their pets is indeed remarkable, and it challenges many of our assumptions about control and dominance. But the question remains, can this knowledge be integrated into our society without undermining the order that has sustained us for generations?" Vorkal took a deep breath before responding. "Honored Council, I believe that we can learn from the humans without abandoning our principles. Their methods may seem foreign to us, but they offer a new perspective, one that could enhance our own understanding of power. If we can combine their approach with our own, we may discover new ways to strengthen our society and our relationships with other species." The council deliberated for a long time, their thoughts exchanged in silence. Vorkal waited, his heart pounding, knowing that the future of Zorathian society hung in the balance. Finally, Xantor spoke again. "We will consider your proposal, Vorkal. The path you suggest is not without risk, but it is also full of potential. We will continue to study the humans' methods and explore how they might be adapted to our own needs. You have done well, Commander." Vorkal bowed deeply, a sense of relief washing over him. He had succeeded in opening the door to a new way of thinking, a way that could lead to profound changes on Zorath. As Vorkal left the Grand Chamber, he felt a new sense of purpose. The journey he had embarked on had not just been one of discovery, it had been a journey of transformation. He had learned that true power was not just about control, but about connection, compassion, and the willingness to embrace new ideas. And in that moment, Vorkal knew that the Zorathians would never be the same again. They had been astonished by the humans' ability to turn terrified creatures into pets, but the true lesson was far more profound. It was a lesson that would shape the future of Zorath, and perhaps even the galaxy, a future where power was redefined not by dominance, but by the strength of the bonds that connected all living beings.